All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to talk about what teams that missed out on the playoffs last year and which ones have the best chance of making the playoffs in 2024. So, I guess we'll start off with the NFC. So I know we just talked about them, the Atlanta Falcons. So they missed out on the playoffs last year. They finished 7-10. You know, they lacked consistency at the quarterback position. And now they went out and they got Kirk Cousins. They brought him into the fold. And right now I think they're the favorites to win the division. And when you win the division, you make the playoffs. Now, there is some risk to that because Kirk Cousins is also like some other quarterback another quarterback that we'll talk about in a second. Well, not in a second, but in this segment. He's coming off of a major injury, an Achilles injury, and got to see how he is. But I said I think he'll still be good, and I think he's going to play well for the Falcons, and I think that ultimately is going to lead them to winning the division. So I think they could be a team that makes the playoffs this year. But then you also have another team in their division as well. I mean, the Saints, they finished 9-8 as well last year. But, they still missed out because the Bucs, held the tiebreaker over them. Now, I don't know if they're going to be able to carry the momentum from the end of the regular season into next year because, again, it's a new season. But, if Derek Carr could play well like he did towards the end of the year and he could do that over the course of a full season, the Saints can make it. But I think they're going to make it through the division. I don't know about the wild card, but that's just my opinion. So I think the Falcons, they got a better shot than the Saints do. But like I said, the Saints, they finished the year strong. Derek Carr played really well down the stretch, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, so those two teams. Then in the NFC West, I mean, I don't really expect the Cardinals to make it. I know there's some people that think the Cardinals can be a sneaky good team this year, and we'll have to see. I mean, you got a full season of Kyler Murray. Now they got Marvin Harrison Jr. in the fold to add a number one wide receiver to that offense. And they were competitive in a lot of games last year, even without Kyler Murray. And so we'll see, but yeah, I don't expect them to make the playoffs. The Seahawks are going to be interesting because they did make the playoffs 2 years ago, and now they got a new head coach. I mean, I like the roster a lot, but we'll have to see. I mean, I think it all depends on how Geno Smith or Sam Howell plays, depending on who's the starter. But it looks like it's going to be Geno. So, yeah, we'll see. Then we move on to the NFC North. Well, yeah, you got the Bears and the Vikings. Now, I said I think the Bears will make the playoffs. I had them at 9-10 wins this year. So I think they should. They definitely should. And the firepower that they added on offense with Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift, I think this could be a playoff team. Why not? I think Caleb Williams will go through some struggles early on, but ultimately I think they'll catch fire when they need to, and they'll maybe make it in as a wild card. The Vikings, we'll see. I mean, I think it all comes down to the quarterback play. It's another roster I like, but we'll have to see. In the NFC East, yeah, I don't expect the Giants or the Commanders to make the playoffs. I don't. So, yeah, but I think the Falcons, they have the best chance out of the non-playoff teams from last year to make the playoffs. And then I'd probably rank the Bears second. So now and that's because the Falcons' pathway I think is easier than the Bears, just because of the division they play in. So now we go over to the AFC. I mean, I think the team that has the best chance out of the teams that didn't make it last year is the Bengals. The Jets, I would probably rank them second, but I think the Bengals have I think the Bengals right now, for me, are like the number one team that missed it last year. They're going to be the team that makes it this year. Because if you get a healthy Joe Burrow, I mean, they're going to be not only a playoff team, but they're going to be one of the best teams in the AFC. Now, it's going to be tough because you got to compete with the Ravens for the division. I think those are the top two teams in the division. But if you got a healthy Joe Burrow, the sky's the limit for what you could do as a team. And, they still got some stuff they got to figure out with their receivers, paying T. Higgins or not, which they're probably not. They're going to pay Jamar Chase. But you're hoping that T. Higgins is at least around for one more year, and you could try to go on another run and try to win the whole thing. But either way, the Bengals are going to be a tough team if Burrow's healthy. And I expect them to be there. I expect them, if Burrow's healthy, pencil them in as a playoff team. So, yeah. And then, of course, the other team is the Jets. Now, like what I brought up with Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers is coming off of a significant injury, Achilles injury as well. But I think if he's healthy, I think this team could definitely make the playoffs. And I had them winning the division. So please prove me right, because I know, depending on who I was talking to, I know when I brought that up to my friends this weekend when we were out, and I said that, they weren't too thrilled by that. But like I said, I'm going to take a chance on it, see what happens, and if I'm wrong, like I said, I'll come on and admit I was wrong. But we still got a long time before the season starts, so I could still be positive about it. But yeah, I mean, the defense, it's one of the best defenses in the NFL. They got talented players on offense. I mean, you got one of the rising stars at both receiver and running back. Breece Hall looks like one of the best running backs in the NFL. I mean, towards the end of the year, you look at his numbers, I mean, he was unbelievable. And now you got him with Aaron Rodgers now. You can have a nice balanced attack on offense. And, of course, Garrett Wilson was a talented young receiver, and they drafted a receiver. They brought in Mike Williams. They improved the offensive line. So if Rodgers is healthy, this offense is going to be good. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to be one of the best in the NFL, but I think it could be a competent offense, and that combined with the defense, this should be a good team, and this team should make the playoffs if everything goes well. But it's a big if. So, yeah, the Jets are another team. And I'm trying to think who else. I mean, the Chargers with Jim Harbaugh, I think they can make it in as a wild card team possibly. I got to see how the offense is. Because, they went through some changes and, they let go of Mike Williams. They traded away Keenan Allen. They let go of Austin Eckler. They got the Ravens backfield, basically, with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. And he got a lot of young receivers. But I think with Harbaugh, this team is going to be decent this year. And maybe it's good enough to at least get in as a wild card team. So we'll see. The Raiders did finish 8-9 last year. And now they got Gardner Minshew. I mean, I feel like maybe they could squeak in, possibly, but I think it's just going to be too tough. I think they're going to be on the outside looking in. In the South, I mean, the Colts could make it. They fell just short of making the playoffs by a game. So, now with Anthony Richardson back and you got a full year of Jonathan Taylor, it's possible. The Jags were a team that made it a couple years ago, and, they had that epic comeback against the Chargers. Maybe they redeem themselves and they get in. I think that, like I said, I think the Titans are going to be the team that finishes in last in that division, but we'll have to wait and see on that. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it because you had 3 of the 4 teams in the AFC North making the playoffs. The Bills and the Dolphins made it. I don't think the Patriots are making it. Yeah, so I think in the AFC, I'd say the Bengals have the best chance to return to the postseason after being out last year. And then, like I said, I think the Jets, if everything goes well, they should make it. So, but that's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. What team do you think that missed the playoffs? What team do you think has the best chance out of the teams that missed it? Who has the best chance to make it back to the postseason? Let me know in the comments. So we're going to take our third break of the show, and then when we come back, we will talk about Trevor Lawrence, the latest on his contract talks and how much he could get paid. We'll talk about all that when we come back from our break. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.